Hi there. Remember that time I broke my quad and then left it sitting for about 6 months under a pile of junk in my garage? Nope, me neither. All right, folks, it's time. I've been putting this off and putting this off. You know what? It's time to just get in there and at least get it figured out what's wrong with it. So I got to get this thing unburied first of all. Okay, I got my quad turned around. As you can see, I've got major space issues. However, it's -10 out right now. So let me tell you, I'm pretty glad to have this little shop here. So it's kind of a tragedy that this thing's so broken. As you can see, I mean, this thing's been parked since June. Runs like an absolute top. The problem is, right here, you can see there's this crack right through on the frame. Okay, so you can see the crack a little bit better here. I guess it's a common problem, I don't really know, but I have a welder. I'm not that concerned with getting that welded up, but the problem was when I went over that bump and that cracked, it pulled the drive shaft, which you can see there, off of the back yoke. So as I was driving out of the bush, I just had it in four-wheel drive and I was just puttering along. And I think what happened, right up there, you can see a bit of a dent. I think as this yoke was spinning around, it got caught on that and then just locked up the rear differential immediately. And I'm pretty sure because of that, there's a tooth off of the rear ring gear or something damaged inside the differential. So I'll just show you, if I try and roll it back, it'll go a little ways and it just kind of locks up. Then you try to go forward a little ways and it just locks up again. So we got to figure out what is wrong inside that differential. Now, one pretty big regret that I have right now is that this thing is so dirty. It was sitting in the back of my truck for a while. And I really should have gone and got it pressure washed. It's so stupid pulling apart something that's dirty and stuff like that. Oh my sweet mother of God. Look what I just found. This is the rear brake disc. It's kind of mounted on the drive line and the rear differential. One of these bolts is missing. As you can see on this side here, it's kind of flattened off. And then you go up over here, right there in the middle, you can see where that the nut was interacting. I'm pretty sure there's nothing wrong with the differential. Wow, did I ever get lucky? I'm gonna tighten that up and see if it'll rotate. All right, moment of truth. Let's jack her up and see if the rear wheels spin freely. Okay. You should know pretty much immediately. Oh my God. You have got to be kidding me. I was worried I was gonna have to spend like 1,200 bucks on a new diff or something like that. So, oh my God, did I ever get lucky. All right, folks, well, I gotta tell you, I'm feeling equal parts gratitude and embarrassment. I can't believe I gave up a whole summer of riding that quad over nothing more than a bolt needed to be tightened in. I got to still get the frame welded up. That's going to be a bit of an ordeal. Okay, so we're under the quad. This is the crack that happened right there. So what I'm planning on doing is I got to get the metal cleaned up so it's prepared to weld. Once I jack it up from under here, it pushes it into place so it holds it nice and tight, and that'll be good for welding it up. I'll go around, weld all four sides, and then I'm gonna plate over top of it, and I'll show you what I'm gonna use that with that. Okay, so right now I'm going to explain why this thing broke and how I plan to fix it. So this quad is a 2006 Outlander Max 800 XT. So the Max means that it's got an extended wheelbase and of course an extended frame. So I don't know when the first year of these quads was, but this is a little bit of uncharted territory. Typically quads are probably a foot shorter or so than this. Anyways, that bottom frame rail, and there's only one of them, it's rectangular tubing, but we'll use this square stuff, as a lot of force is being put on it. And I've had this thing beaten the living snot out of it so many times. I'll put a link in the description or a thing on the video if you want to watch some of this quad ripping around. I've had, you know, maximum weight on there, probably 400 pounds of people blasting over bumps and all kinds of stuff. So I'm not even really mad at this thing being broken. Basically though, if this is the main bottom frame thing, as you're going over bumps, it's putting a lot of strain like this. Once that bottom lets go, you know, the sides are going to rip and away you go. There's the broken frame. This is really becoming one of those projects where the more you look into it, the more complicated it seems to get. So as you can see, we've got the crack here. I got a floor jack. Now I can jack it up and get that crack to tighten up. But the problem is the frame is currently a little bit offset. Things might have been a little bit tweaked from driving it like that. So I mean, I could put a C-clamp on and try and get it straight, but the access is just terrible in here. You know, trying to weld, you know, pieces up inside this stuff up in here is going to be really tough. So I think what we're going to do is just take a step back. This is one of these projects where you want to do it once and do it right. And I think I'm going to go get my engine hoist, try and stick this quad so it's sitting straight up and down on its back, and then just get all this stuff out of here, drive shaft removed, these things, get the metal super cleaned up, and I'm just going to try and, you know, this isn't going to be a quick little slap together project. I thought it would be, you know, I could get it welded and just kind of get through it, but if you really want to do it properly up there, I think this is going to be a little bit more complicated. So let's go ahead and get this thing standing upright. So between the rear bumper thing and this box and stuff like that, I mean, if I get this standing up like that, it should be pretty stable. And then I'll keep the engine hoist on it just as a safety. But you know what? Let's just get regrouped and do this thing properly. Okay, who knows if this is going to work, but let's get her turned around. I'm going to try and jack up the front as far as I can and lift it with an engine hoist. Hopefully we can make something happen here, but we will find out. All right, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is not going to go as easily as I hope. Part of it is I just think I'm going to be able to do a better job, the better access I can get. We might find that I can't get it tipped up. I'm not sure that I can do it by myself, but whatever. Let's just give her a try. Okay, I've got these pretty good sized wheel chocks. I'm going to toss those under there. So I think a problem that's going to come up is this garage door opener here. The quad, that's only like 7.5 feet to there, and the quad is almost 8 feet tall. So let's just try and lift it up and see what happens. Well, it's coming along pretty good. I don't think we're anywhere near being out of reach yet. Oh, darn it, that's it. That's as high as she will go. Okay, gotta think about this. Okay, I think I could probably tip it back by hand, but it's a pretty good sized gamble. I should probably try and come up with a bit of a backup plan. Maybe I can ratchet strap back to the shelves just to help. It's pretty... Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can lift it back. So I'm gonna try and figure out something just as a bit of a backup safety plan, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and try and force it over. Okay, well, let me take this opportunity to welcome you to the Do Not Try This at Home part of this video. I've got couple of ropes back to those 2x2s. I'm not saying that this is strong or proper. Do not try this at home. I got a ratchet strap right there. The problem is if I go ahead and try and lift this off, which I'm sure I can do, I don't think it's going to be a problem to just stand it up. I'm going to be taking it off this hook, and that means that I'm exposed. If I can't get it up there or anything, you know, I got a risk of tripping over this stuff trying to get out of there. It's sketchy, you know, sketchy at best. Okay, now that's about as far up as it's going to go. Okay, that's okay for a second. Okay, well, she's up there. It's not quite vertical. I don't know if you can tell that from the video, and that's definitely a problem. Let's have a look back here. So I might just try and tip it all the way back so that it's just sitting on the case there. Let's see how that works. Okay, so I'm just going to tie these off again just to give me some degree of safety. Let's see if we can just tip her on back. No, that's not going to work. Okay, I think I've actually got an idea to get this sorted out, and hopefully it'll be a lot less sketchy. I'm going to keep my hand on it. I'm going to put a loop through the frame down here and try and lift it from here, and hopefully that will give me what I need. Okay, I think this is going to work. Worst thing that can happen here is if it wants to tip over sideways. I'm going to go real slow and see what happens. Okay, the rope's starting to cut a little bit. So I'm going to double it up. Okay, got that. Let's keep going carefully here. Okay, now she's starting to lift. Go have a look back there, make sure everything's happy. Okay, this is definitely getting sketchier by the second. It's going to be able to tip up a little bit further. I really got to ask myself what's stopping it from tipping side to side. So both of the rear bumpers are touching the ground, and then it can go up just a little bit more. Okay, I got this thing all good to go. Like I said, definitely do not try this at home. Everything about this is sketchy, but I've got probably 1, 2, 3, at least 4 layers of protection, 5 layers maybe even. So I'm going to walk you through it now. So we've got the engine hoist here. Now this one, as I mentioned, is starting to cut a little bit. So I've got the second one here as a backup that's going up to the hook. Underneath the tires, I've got blocks of wood so that that can't move around. I've got a jack underneath the tow hitch thing there, so that's stopping it from coming forward. On the back, it's sitting on the bumpers and this case back here. And then I've got this thing tied off to, I should probably tighten that up actually. But I've got this thing tied off, going to 3 of these 2x2s, and then tied off over here. So I'm gonna tighten that up, and then I will say that I am cautiously gonna move forward. Okay, so I got that strap tightened up. Time to start looking at what needs to happen here. So this bracket right here, I gotta remove that from both sides. I gotta pull the drive shaft out of there, and then I should be able to have pretty decent access to the top side of the crack in there, and should be able to weld that up. Okay, well, we're definitely making some progress. I've got this main bracket unbolted. Now I'm just going to yoink the drive shaft. There was a cover here that I took off, so this should come out now. Okay, drive shaft out. Now I'm going to remove this bracket thing here. This is what kind of holds up the floorboards. Okay, that is out. Now we should have pretty good access. So I'm just looking through here from this cover that I removed. Now for the average pro welder out there, this is probably a luxurious amount of access room. For me, it's going to be tough getting a good bead on there. It's going to be tough to get the weld ground off so that I can plate it and stuff like that. But all the other sides should be pretty good and accessible. We got to get that metal cleaned up and you know, get it squared up and in the proper orientation. But I think this is going to work out well. I got that good and cleaned up all the way around. Now it's time to get this thing squared up. Now this would have been a bit easier to do on the ground because there was no pressure on it. It was like just the weight of the machine was spreading this apart. So I don't know how tight this is going to be, but we'll just go slow and figure it out. Okay, I forgot to film, but I got a couple tacks so the frame is squared up. Just going to run some beads on there now. And then we'll grind them off and then get plating. Before I do, I just remembered I got to put something on the brake disc just to keep some slag off of there. And then I got an old glove here just to protect the brake line from any heat. All right, should be good. I've got this welded up. It actually blew through a few times on me. I had to turn the welder way down and then like really point the puddle or point the wire at the previous weld just so it had some metal to kind of block the arc force. But anyways, it's all welded up now. Everything went pretty good. I didn't grind the beads off super flush because the metal is just so thin. But I think we're good to start plating over top of it now and get this thing back in the game. So as I mentioned, I had a lot of problems welding this up. This metal is so thin. It is just insane that they would even put that on a quad. It's actually amazing that it lasted 16 years, I guess, before it actually broke. I mean, I bought this thing very used, but I've put it through the ringer. So either way, we should be able to beef it up good and strong now. As you can see in here, I mean, there's some structural elements there, some structural elements there, and kind of right in the middle and kind of on the end of this is where it decided to let go. So hopefully we can clean this up and fix it once and for all. As I mentioned, that 1/2 inch piece of steel in theory might have been a good idea, but with the metal being so unbelievably thin, I think it'd be a real problem to be connecting them in a firm and solid way. And sure, welders might tell me that's wrong, but I'm gonna go ahead and use this stuff. This is definitely 1/8 inch, if not more. This is pretty thick steel, and we're gonna run a strip kind of like that and overlap both sides a whole bunch. This piece here, I just measured, it is 3/16. So in terms of where I should set it up, the fact that this break happened right at the tip of that, I feel like those two things are probably related to each other. So my instinct is to overlap it quite a bit, but I don't want to create a singular point of weakness. And the weld on such thin metal might have a tendency to want to crack again. So I'm going to do it from the middle of this structural element here to kind of the middle of this structural element down here somewhere. That's plenty of overlap. It's probably at least 4 inches in each direction. And hopefully that can create a bit of an area where it's also, you know, strengthened by another member. I don't know if you'd call that a node or whatever, but similar idea. I'm gonna start getting my pieces cut and get ready for that, and I'll see you guys when I'm ready to weld. So from what little I know about welding, if you're doing 2 different thicknesses, you're supposed to set the machine to the thickest of those. So I'm going to start out with some tacks on the corner. I'll get a good puddle going here, and then just try and dip into the littler metal, and just hopefully it doesn't make a big mess. I can't imagine I'm going to be able to do a 10-inch long or 9-inch long bead without it becoming a problem. So I'm not exactly sure. I might just do like a couple inches at a time and kind of jump around. We'll see how it goes, but I've got the Miller 211 set for 3/16, so we're going to jump on in and find out. Okay, it's not actually as sensitive as I thought. Because you're going onto the face of it, it's able to take a bit more heat than the crack, I guess. So this actually might go pretty good. Try another one. Yeah, I couldn't believe this one right here. I had to take 3 stabs at it before the puddle kind of welded into or melted into the main frame. So I think this is actually going to not be as bad as I thought. When you got a big piece of metal that can absorb a lot of the heat, it definitely gives you a little leeway, I guess, when you're going with thin metal. So let's weld her on up. Okay, we got this welded up. I had to do it in a few different passes. This machine is currently just running on 110, so the 3/16 setting is definitely just kept blowing breakers. The bottom was by far the ugliest. I should probably go over that a bit more. Out of position welding is really not my strength. I was surprised how well these vertical ones turned out, but I mean, they look, you know, good and hot. I think everything should be plenty strong. So now we're going to start figuring out our side pieces. Okay, I finally got the back side of this welded. Oh my God, what a mess. really, really hard to reach in there. It's stuff like this that separates the men from the boys in the welding world. I'm sure, you know, welders have to deal with stuff like this all the time. I was really worried about not burning through just because it's so tough to get at, so it was probably a bit too cold at first. And then I just kind of did a weld over the chicken scratch. All right, so got some of this stuff trimmed here. Just gonna explain this real quick. The reason that I like this setup, when I'm welding down this side, I've got this corner here, which should be able to take some heat better, as well as this. So I think risk of blowing through there should be pretty slim. I can definitely get some heat in there. And then in here, it creates this little pocket where I can just really tie all this stuff together, and it'll just be kind of one structural element that should be vastly stronger than it was stock, hopefully. Okay, so I got this one welded in. This is a little bit better on the bottom. I turned it way down. Speaking of that, this one here, I tried to go over it and clean it up. Man, I suck at doing those kind of overhead welds. I don't know what it is. I gotta watch some videos. Anyways, that one turned out good, and that one turned out good. So now I'm gonna do another pass in here and just tie those two together all the way down, and then one over on this end here, and jump over to the other side. Okay, the back side of this was kind of tough to get to, but that worked out pretty well. This bottom, as I mentioned, not ideal, but definitely connected. I might do another quick little pass over that. I'll probably tune that corner up a bit, but this one is double pass kind of thing, so that's all tied in together, and yeah, feeling pretty good about this. I'll show you when the other side's done. Okay, got this one on. This one went by far the best. Got that bottom weld across without too much shenanigans. Tried a totally different movement, and it made all the difference. Instead of like really trying to go along with the tip, I really kind of pointed it up and just went like this along it, and seemed to work way better. This one turned out very well. Now I just got to fill this gap full, and she's all tied together. I'm a little bit on the fence about doing this top one right here, just because there's a brake line here that I don't want to cook. So yeah, even this glove's like really warm, even just from doing those welds. So I might skip that part. We'll see. Okay, she is done. All sides on that one. Ended up doing all sides on that one. This one was a little harder to get at. Brake line seems just fine, didn't get melted or anything like that. So yeah, we're good to go. That thing is pure beef. Well, she's all done. I got a couple of coats of this duplicolor engine enamel on there. Definitely not the right paint for this kind of application. This stuff, pretty sure they want you to use a primer, which I didn't put any primer on, but it's the same stuff I used on these ATV ramps I built a while back, and it's been holding up just fine. So anyways, it'll keep the rust off, and it's a heck of a lot better than doing nothing. Tomorrow I'm going to get this drive shaft put in there. I'll give it the night to dry. Okay, it's the next day. Time to get this drive shaft put back in. As you can see, that is looking pretty dry. I'm gonna clean that up a little bit, put a bunch of grease on both ends, toss her back in. Okay, I think I need to actually do the drive shaft while it's on the ground, because I'm pretty sure I gotta pull the rear yoke off. I'm a little fuzzy on how this works, but anyways, I'm just gonna lower it down now. Let's do it. I got the back rope untied. I've got my blocks out. So when I was tipping it up, I wanted the rear tires to be locked, but now I want them to roll back. So I think I'll pull it out of gear and turn the e-brake off. Okay, now I'm going to lower the jack. Okay. Let's do it. Lower this just a little. Okay, so it's kind of standing there right now. Pick up a little slack. Oh, this might get a little sketchy. Okay, it's going pretty good. I don't know what's going to happen though when the chain gets too short to let it lower all the way. Woo! That was a close one. Went wrong way on the jack. So at this point, it's so low that if I had to put some blocks under the tires or something, we could do that. Just square it up a little bit. Okay, we're running into a problem now. I think. Yeah, definitely running into some clearance issues here. I think I got this figured out. I'm gonna lower it down onto those ramps. Hopefully it lines up. I might have to fiddle with this a little bit. But if I can get this thing unhooked and then rehook it and lower it on down, should be fine. Well, it's down. I'm definitely gonna have to cut the ropes. I don't think they're going to, it might be loose enough. Yeah. Oh yeah, there we go. We're good. This is always such a puzzle. Didn't really think this far ahead. I gotta get that thing off of the engine crane so I can lift it back up. Alright, I got this figured out. Go down with the crane, pull this extension right out of there. That right out. We'll kind of lift this up past the quad. Alright, now we'll put this back in. Okay, now just hook on wherever we can over this again. Oh, I think I got a big shackle sitting over here. Hopefully that'll go over it. Finally got a use for this thing. Alright, Eureka! Get those ramps out of there and away we go. how it's done. Okay, let's get that drive shaft in. All right, well, we're underneath here. I got my daughter jumping on it right now. Everything seems nice and solid. I kind of wish I put that bracket in, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it up on some jack stands and I think this thing's fixed. All right, it's a while later. I got the drive shaft installed. It's all phased properly, which basically just means this yoke and the other yoke on the end of the drive shaft are pointed the same way. One thing that's kind of funny, I had seen this dent here from when this yoke was sort of flopping around, and that was when the frame broke and pulled it off the drive shaft. And I had thought that when it hit that, it just stopped it dead and broke a tooth off the ring and pinion, but this is actually plastic. So that definitely, had I known that was plastic, I probably would have kept looking right away. So kind of funny how that goes. Anyways, greased up the U-joints and stuff, and everything's all tightened up and good to go. Unfortunately, I forgot to put that bracket that goes across and holds up the footwells, and because the drive shaft's in, I can't get that in now. That's a really big mistake, and I do not want to pull this drive shaft back out. So that means I'm going to pull some plastics off. I kind of want to see around in underneath them a bit anyways, so bit more work, but no big deal. Okay, I got lucky, got that bracket in there. Just got to tighten up the bolts, but I was able to just pull the seat off and these side plastics here, and just kind of jostle this out of the way and just barely fit. So almost done. So one little happy accident. I didn't know that this wasn't hooked up. This is the breather for my the belt clutch case, whatever you want to call it. Well, right on schedule. My one-day project took me a full 2 days. It's just pretty much dark out right now. Everything is back together. I even cleaned the air filter. The rear brake disc has been hosed down with brake clean. Everything's tightened up. And the thing that I'm really curious about is what sort of shape are my rings in, because this thing sat completely vertical for probably close to 24 hours. So let's fire it up and see if any smoke comes out. Alright folks, well, I am so pumped that the quad is back. I will definitely be out filming with this thing soon. I was just starting to tiptoe in and figure out what was wrong with it. I'm so surprised that, you know, it's actually fixed and running. I thought I was going to have to buy a new differential and God knows what else, so really got lucky on that one. Thanks for coming along with me. I had a fun time with this, and just want to say please give me a thumbs up and a subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.